Pretty cool stuff going on today, guys. I got a box in from MNNTHBX, and these are the first accessories that I bought for the Honda Monkey there. And mainly what I was going for is some new rear suspension. This is some rear shocks, rear suspension pieces that MNNTHBX builds. They're all made here in USA. They build them themselves, and these are direct replacements for the stock shocks there, the rear shocks on the Honda Monkey. And these are built with adults in mind, heavier riders. Because I will say the disappointing thing about the suspension on the Monkey is that the rear shocks are really not made for anybody with any kind of substantial weight. If you're maybe 150 pounds, you probably do just fine on that. But I'm a big guy, I'm heavy, and I knew that buying it, and I figured there was going to be some kind of aftermarket accessories to be able to help cure that. So did a little looking online, and I saw a guy that installed these on his Monkey, and he recommended it, so I decided I was going to go ahead and try it. They got a cool website. They just seem like some cool guys there that build parts for many different motorcycles, and a lot of them are for the mini bikes like the Monkey there. So we got these. I'm going to install them. It should be a pretty simple install. And while I was at it, I went ahead and bought this from them too. This is a rear fender eliminator kit, so it'll do away with the long tail fender on the back of the steel fender and get the tag mounted up higher behind it. And then one last thing that I ordered while I was buying is this shifter right here. This is a Ford's aluminum shifter, and this one is actually Hammerhead, built by Hammerhead, so maybe they sell it. MNNTHBX sells it, for them. But the only thing that I'm confused at this point about this is I got to get down there and look. The original shifter on the bike is actually mounted to the left side foot peg, and then there's a linkage that kind of comes around up to the engine, the crankcase there, where it shifts the gear. So I think all that gets removed, and you bolt this directly onto the little output shaft on the engine itself. So I've got to just do a little research and find out if that's in fact how this mounts on there. So anyway, I'm going to get these mounted on. These are adjustable, by the way. You've got this spanner nut on the bottom, and then they're all the way at the bottom there. So, and it does include the spanner wrenches and some grease. I'm sure the grease is probably for the bushings. They've got machined bronze bushings there, top and bottom. But I'm probably going to be adjusting these most of the way up to increase the spring tension, just because I'm such a heavy person on this small bike right there. I come in around just over 300 pounds, which is really overweight for one of these bikes, but I don't care. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to ride it anyway, and I'm hoping these new shocks right here help with my weight on riding this bike. I want to put it up here on my workbench so that it's a lot easier to work on instead of having to get down on the ground there. I don't have any kind of bike lift. I'm going to start with the rear fender eliminator kit. Just got this bracket right here that goes on. So it appears that you just got the 3 hex bolts in there and 2 Phillips screws that you got to take off, and then this will mount right there. All right, next I'm going to take out the 3 bolts. All right, I finally got the rear fender off of this thing. I had one little issue getting this apart, and that was this this plastic inner fender, which actually mounts up here like that and protects the wiring harnesses. It's got these plastic push-in clips right there, and I wasn't sure that this is how this operated. I thought it was that style that you just pop out of there, and so I was trying to get this side out, and it actually broke. So I'm missing one of these. I'm going to have to try to source some of these little push-in type retainers, but I think the auto parts store has some generic ones, different sizes, a little package of them you can buy that I can replace this one right there. So this one, so I think I figured out how it works. You actually push the center of it up in there, and once you do, it relieves the taper, and then you can pull it out of there like that. So a little learning lesson there, but I'll see if I can find another one so that we can put this back in there. And then the wiring harness, just for the license plate light, just unplugs there. So you just got to reach in there and unplug it. These were two of the screws go in, so I'm pulling these little retainer clips and putting them on the new license plate bracket. So our new bracket is going to fit in there just like that, and then the inner fender should just push up just like that and then screw together. Yeah. Go ahead and get these bolts started in here to hold it in place, and then we'll get the screws. That one's got a lot of Loctite on it. I think I'm gonna have to put some spacers on there because the boss sticks down below the bracket. Huh. All right, these are the washers I'm using. This bracket is not as thick as that plastic one, and that's why you got to do this. You got to put some kind of spacer in there. So I'm just using the stainless washer. Yep. All right, that's back on there. Just got to get that stupid plastic clip to hold the front of it back up on there. So we'll have to get that whenever I can find those. All right, that install is complete. Once you figure out what to do, it's not too bad. So we got that done, and now we're going to go ahead and move on to the shocks right here. And it should be a very simple removal. You just have a 14mm acorn nut, top and bottom, and take those off, and they should just slide off there. Break it loose with this breaker bar right here. I remember this one's got two washers up there, but I think that when you go back with the new shock, you have to eliminate one of these washers up there. This side should be the easier side since it's supported on the kickstand over there. Okay, there it is. All right, one of the things that I've taken notice is that on the lower mount, one of the bushings has a thicker flange on it than the other side, and I don't have instructions on any of this stuff, so I'm having to figure out as I go. The top bushings are the same thickness there, so no worries. So I might just have to. I wanted to put the warning decal to the inside where it's not noticeable, so I'm going to try it that way first, with this thicker side being in towards the swing arm. All right, we'll do it that way. I'm also going to go ahead and use this grease they give us to grease up the flange faces and the bore. Go ahead and slide it on there and see if I can tell this is going to be the right way. It's a very close fit. Right behind that exhaust. Well, it looks like I am going to have to flip it around because with the bottom of it pushed all the way again, it's on the thicker flange there. It's trying to kind of put it in a little bit of a bind at the top side. It's naturally wanting to spring out a little bit further, so that's telling me that we're going to have to flip it around and mount it the other way. I wasn't really thinking there when I was telling you that. All you got to do is just swap the bushings around like this. There we go. All right. Now that's looking right. That feels a lot better right there. So we got enough room. We can get our acorn nut on there. Yep. On the top stud with the factory washers that was on there, even if you put one of those on there, that's not giving you sufficient thread to, tighten up that acorn nut. So I'm going to install mine without these extra washers. We're just going to do it just like the bottom and tighten it right up against the bronze bushing. There we go. I'm going to check the torque on these before I'm finished up, make sure they're tightened up properly. All right, time to get the left side here. I was checking out the other shock after I bolted the right side on, because one of the things I was concerned about is the shock being able to articulate and rotate on the stud. I was thinking that it was tightening up all the way on the brass bushing, making it tight, but they've got the two bronze bushings. Let me grab this one and show you. They've got the bronze bushings machined. That one's tight on the zip tie there, but like this side here, you see that rotate. They're machined so that you've got just a little free play, just enough so that once this is tightened up against the flange, that the shock will still rotate like that. Now let's see how this one will come off. Hopefully it'll kind of stay in place here. There we go. Gonna leave that washer on that side there as well. Go ahead and grease this side up just like the other, and I had actually taken the other side back off and put more grease on the bronze bushings and inside the bore there as well, so I didn't feel like I really had very much on there. A little bit up inside the eyelets here, the mounting eyes. All right, we got one of the bushings top and bottom installed. I got everything greased up. Let's go ahead and see if we can get this one on there. There we go, just like that. And we got our heavy bushing on the bottom there, and then our smaller bushing up top. There we go. All right. Put our acorn nuts back on there. Snug them up with the wrench here, and then I'll use my other wrench to tighten it up, make sure it's torqued good. All right, so you can adjust the spring tension on these shocks. So I'm going to go ahead and start with probably about halfway up. You can turn it by hand there, as you can see. So there is a jam nut underneath it, and then the shocks do come with the two spanner wrenches needed to lock them together. So I'm just going to run it about halfway up and then do an initial test on it and see how the shocks feel with me sitting on it again. And we may just keep adjusting it and go all the way up to full tension on these things. All right, eyeballing it looks about halfway. We'll go ahead and run our jam nut up there against it. And then I'm going to adjust the other side to equal this distance right here. Alrighty guys, we got the new shocks on. I've got both of them adjusted approximately the same distance here. It's just 5/8. We got them jammed together. So I'm excited to see how it works. Now the other one that I was going to do, I'm going to hold off on, and that was this this aluminum shifter right here. And the reason why I'm going to hold off for now is because I'm not exactly sure if this is supposed to mount directly onto that shaft, which I assume it would. But you see how this factory shifter is actually mounted on the rear set here, and there's a linkage underneath it that comes around and hooks in to the shifter shaft there. All right, so it's a different setup than what this looks like right here. This looks like what I'm used to seeing on all of my older dirt bikes and motorcycles. It was just hooked directly there. So I sent an email to MNNTHBX, and I'm going to wait to hear from them if to make sure that this is correct, that they sent me the right one, and if it is correct, if that's how this is meant to be installed, is directly on that. So if that's how it's installed, then I've got to remove this stuff here, and I believe in behind there, it's going to be kind of hard to get to. There's a snap ring that holds this on right there. All right, so I'm just going to leave it for now. I'm going to put this rubber boot back up on it. I'll have to do that off camera, and we're just going to leave that, and we'll get back to that. All right, so I'm ready to get it down off the table and see how the new springs are going to work. Table's a little bit tall to reach up there and hold the brakes while I'm trying to turn around and make sure the rear tire was on the ramp. Well, I can honestly say that these are making a huge improvement. I sat on it just a second ago, and I can tell it doesn't sink down whenever I sit on it like it used to with the stock shocks. It is much more stiff. Hopefully you can see just how much it's coming down with me sitting on it. And before, with the stock shocks, it would pretty much almost bottom out with me sitting on it, and when I would hit a bump like going off the concrete, you would actually feel it bottom out. So I think that's going to work perfect for me right there. I'm going to test it out and see how it feels, because I've still got, you know, half this adjustment still to make it even stiffer if I need to. But it's definitely stiffened it up, which is going to work great for me. I might even have to consider doing the front. The front is pretty soft as well. It doesn't really match the back very much, but we might explore that option another time, is putting the spring kit in the front shocks. Real quick note of a couple things that I've added to it there as well that I already did. We've got this this GoPro camera mount right here, made by Forever Cam. It's machined aluminum, and it's called a 360 mount, so you can actually put your camera on there and click it over and put it in a different position if you want to. So bought two of these, one for the monkey here, and then one for my bicycle. So just clamped right to the bar. And then we've got this other mount. This is more of like a roll bar mount that I've got down here on the lower end, and this provides a pretty cool perspective. Puts the camera right by the ground, and it's got a ball mount there, so you can swivel this any way you want to. All right, you can also take this GoPro mount out of there, and the kit comes with another mount for, you know, it's got the 1/4 thread, so if you want to put a different style camera on there, you can. So that's this guy right here, Bar Grip XL. Picked it up off Amazon. And then the other one is this Forever Cam mount right there. I'll have these added to my Amazon affiliate page, so that if you're interested in these, you know, you can pick you one up for your bike. Let's see if I can give you an action shot of the suspension actually working with me taking it for a little ride here. Camera's probably going to be a little shaky and noisy, but the best I can do on the fly like this. All right, maybe we got some good video there. All right, well, I'm not sure how that video turned out. I haven't previewed it yet, but I will say that I'm very happy with the performance of the new shocks and the suspension for the rear there from Man in the Box. I think that it's a well-needed upgrade probably for any adult that's going to be riding this. So I think it's going to work out really good. I'm real happy that I was able to find this and get some for it. And got the license plate mount. Looks a whole lot better than that big old factory plastic fender hanging down there. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed. Maybe that'll help somebody out. Would I recommend them? Yes, I would recommend them. And I just want to make sure everybody knows this is not a sponsored thing. I paid for those with my own money, and I'm just giving a review because that's what I like to do. You know, it's something new. I'm going to be enjoying, you know, doing some little modifications to this bike every now and then. And I'll show you what I do as we keep progressing and kind of making it a little bit more unique for A-Bomb here. All right, so we'll see you on the next round.